Hello everyone, it's Melanie from Speaking Styles. I hope you're all having an amazing day, or you've had an amazing day, or you're about to have an amazing day, depending on where you are tuning in to watch this. Today I wanted to share with you my 3 speaking gigs that I had in 3 days last week. And I'm going to share with you my top 3 do's and top 3 don'ts when it comes to speaking gigs. So I'm just going to wait and see if anybody's coming on live today. If not, then you may be watching this on replay. If anybody is on, let me know. I see there is a few people watching. Let me know that you can hear this, you can see this. Give me a thumbs up in the comments. And I have all my notes ready to share my 3 speaking gigs in 3 days and the top do's and don'ts for anybody with any upcoming talks. Then I wanted to give you my top 3 do's and top 3 don'ts so that you can be able to confidently be able to speak at any networking event. So I had three speaking gigs in 3 days last week. So I had one on Monday afternoon, one on Tuesday morning, and then again on Wednesday evening. And I have to say that I've never had 3 speaking gigs in 3 days. Hey, Rebecca. Thanks, Rebecca. Hey, Marcia. So I've never had 3 speaking gigs in 3 days. So I have to say it probably was a bit of a challenge energetically, and it was a bit of a challenge in between other work as well. However, I really enjoyed the experience. So for me, like, I always want to share authentically and honestly as well. I've probably only ever done maybe 1 speaking gig a month previously, so to do 3 in 3 days, and I was also invited to all 3 of those. So it was such a privilege to be able to be asked to come and actually do these speaking gigs. So what I want to do is I'm just going to run through the 3 speaking gigs that I had, who it was for, who was there, and what I actually covered. And then I'm going to go in and talk a little bit about the do's and the don'ts, because I'm just the same as everybody else. There's things that I learn from what I've done that I can then improve on in the next one. I'm human like everybody else, so sometimes we make mistakes. And this is what I want to share with you today. So on Monday, last Monday afternoon, I actually went up to the Sunshine Coast. So for anybody watching who lives in another country, this is actually like an hour north of where I live. And I actually went to speak to the University of the Sunshine Coast. And it was the 3rd year marketing students that I was asked to come and speak to. And I was speaking to them about professional speaking and networking. So a lot of these students are going to be going into employment. Possibly some of them might start their own business. So I wanted to give them some strategies around professional speaking, but also believing in themselves. So, hi Brookie. So this was a 30-minute presentation. So there were students in the theatre lecture, the lecture theatre, and there was also students watching this online. So it was actually being live streamed for any students who couldn't make it, and it was also live streamed to other campuses. So I had 30 minutes of a presentation, and I also had my PowerPoint slides. I was also mic'd up with a lapel mic. Hey Matthew, and so that they could be able to hear me on the live stream. So I used my PowerPoint slides, I did have notes, and I also interacted with people through questions, through group discussions, and then obviously asking for people to share with the group. So that went really well. So that was my Monday. And then on Tuesday, I gave a presentation to a business networking event in the morning. So I literally got back from the Sunshine Coast in the evening, and then I had to get up early for a networking breakfast the next morning. And so this one was for local community members as well as business owners. And I was talking to them about how you talk about yourself and your business in order to grow your business and your network. And I did this through helping them learn more about how to use storytelling rather than using business cards. And it's more about engaging with each other and how we actually connect. So this was a smaller group, around 12 to 15 people. I had 30 minutes as well as 5 to 10 minutes of a Q&A. So with this one, I didn't have any slides with me. What I did bring with me was a handout so that there was something that we could go through together, but also something that they could take home and work on as well. So as you'll see when I talk about my events and my speaking gigs, I will always have something that's visual, something for people to do or something for people to see. Because what we need to remember is that our audiences all learn differently. So it's always important to have something there that can contribute to different types of learners. So again, I asked questions, interacted with people, got people to share with the group, and it was a handout for them to take back. No problem, Rebecca, you can watch it later on live. So then on Wednesday evening, I went back up to the Sunshine Coast and I did a networking evening event for the Sunshine Coast businesses, and it was a LinkedIn local event. So for this one, there was about 40 plus businesses in the room, all business owners. I had 15 minutes plus Q&A. This one, I actually had a handheld mic. So my previous one the day before was just a small group, so I just obviously used my own voice. But for this one, I had a handheld mic. And what I actually used this time is that, yes, I was still talking about storytelling for businesses, but because I only had 15 minutes, you're not able to give them too much information in 15 minutes. So, and because it was a larger audience, I didn't bring handouts. So I actually used the whiteboard as the handout. So this is the thing when we go into larger groups, is that we have to look at being able to adapt for different groups and different sizes. So by using the whiteboard, it's quite visual. It's being able to see from all of the room, and then I'm able to talk through the points from the whiteboard. So that was my 3 gigs from last week. So what I want to share with you is, and if anybody does have any questions as I'm going along, feel free to jump in and pop them in the comments. I see that there's a few more people joined. Hey Amanda, hey Nikki. So from a little bit before I go into some of the do's and don'ts, and just to go over the different types of groups and what was there for me to do, is that on Wednesday I had a handheld mic. And on the Monday, I had a lapel mic. So basically it was just attached to my top and then put into my skirt. So those types of mics I do prefer because it actually gives me more hand gestures and being able to move around the room more than a handheld mic. So I always struggle a little bit with a handheld mic, especially if you want to use different visual aids and you forget and the mic disappears from your mouth. So those are just some things and some challenges and different things that we have to get used to as speakers depending on what the venue needs as well. But that's just something for myself to get used to. So let's talk about the do's. So my top first tip is around the do's is when we are speaking in front of an audience, it's really important to interact with the audience. So speaking anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, if we don't have interaction with their audience, it means that they're not engaged. They're not coming along in the journey, in the story that we're telling them. And a lot of the times people would just switch off and they'll be thinking about other things. So that is my top do, and it's something that I always do in all of my speaking gigs. And generally, all of my speaking gigs are started off with a question to draw people in from the get-go, is that we want them on board with us. So using questions are really important to do. But we also want to, when we're doing something that's over 15 minutes to 30 minutes, we want to look at doing questions throughout, just checking in with the audience. So phrases that I use a lot is, how many of you believe in communication in the workplace, or how many of you would like to grow your business? By using language like how many of you means that you're not singling anybody out. And it means that you're doing a general round the room, so nobody feels like they can't put their hand up when we do how many of you, and we don't single people out. So using phrases like that generally engages an audience better than saying, are you, or is this something you do? So we never want to single people out in a group because they won't want to put their hand up and do that. So tip number one to do is always engage with your audience and interact with them. Remember that it's just a conversation that we're having, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's we're a group of 10, 12, 40, 50, it's a conversation that we're having with people. So number two is know the audience that you're speaking to. So it's really important that the person that has invited you to come and speak, make sure that you have asked them who is the audience, maybe possibly how old they are, what do they do, so that you can tailor it for that audience. Because that's another really important thing. We can't just generalize for one group. So for two of mine, one was students and the other two was business owners. So then I had to find out a little bit more about, are the students going to be in employment? Then I need to then tailor it to working in an environment with a manager and colleagues. And then my other two is then engaged around business owners. So that is a must. Know who your audience is. And if you don't know, you ask the organizer or the host to let you know a little bit more about your audience. So number three, so if you're a speaker and you have a business and you want to be able to follow up with people afterwards, so it's having a call to action without selling and without having a real call to action at the end. So if you're speaking to a group for the first time, they don't know you. So I talk a lot about know, like, and trust. So if they don't know you, you can't really just sell to them when they don't even know. They possibly might not like you and they might not trust you right now. So one of the things that I do at speaking events is I have a sheet that goes around, and it's giving them the option to fill it out with their name, their email, and I have some tick boxes. So my tick boxes are, would you like to hear more information about my services? Would you like to book in for a 30-minute free consultation? So that's what I do. So that's something to think about if you are in business and you are having speaking gigs and you want to have the power of the follow-up. Because again, it's a bit like handing business cards out. We can't just expect people to contact us. We need to be able to follow up with people. But by sending the sheet around, it's giving permission to the people. And if they want to opt into that, then they're giving you that permission on that night to do so, if they do want to have a conversation with you later about anything, any of your services or upcoming workshops. So that's my 3 do's. Again, if anybody has more questions, I just wanted to go over 3 do's and don'ts. However, if you do have any more questions on any of these, feel free to send me a message or pop it in the comments, and I'll be able to look at answering that at the next Monday Q&A. Okay, so now I want to talk about the 3 don'ts. Now, number 1 is that because I had the 3 speaking gigs 3 days in a row, but I also had quite a lot of work leading up to that. And I probably didn't allow enough time to prepare the way in which I wanted it to be. Therefore, I used more notes than I normally would do on the Monday and the Tuesday compared to the Wednesday. And what I say about is the don't. It's not that you don't have notes. It's just that a lot of the time the notes, and I always say this to other people, I did use them probably as more of a comfort blanket just because it was quite in a short space of time. But they can also be distraction to other people. with constantly looking at your notes. So when we prepare and we know our content, if we're using visual aids, we're using PowerPoints, they should be our prompts to be able to use that instead of using our notes. And by the Wednesday night, I did use like a little bit of paper just to keep me on track if I needed to. However, I would say that it is about knowing your content, and it is about having enough time to be able to do that. So that's something, again, for myself that I will probably think differently around when it comes to how many speaking gigs I may do in a week as well. So number 2 is don't drink coffee before you go to speak. And the reason that I say this is that, has anybody ever got up to speak and suddenly their mouth is like the Sahara Desert? Let me know in the comments if that has ever happened to you, because I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about that and how I came to realize what one of the reasons was by Tuesday night. So I was able to use this on the Wednesday. So let me know if you ever find where you suddenly get up to speak and your mouth is as dry as the Sahara Desert. I'll see if anybody else has had that feeling before. And one of the reasons that that does happen is because we haven't drank enough water. Yes, Matthew. So the reason is we haven't drank enough water. But what happens is we drink the water too late. So we have maybe a few sips before we go on. And then we start to get the dry mouth, and we go away, we get water, we take some more, and then it just feels like it's just the Sahara Desert the entire time. So I actually watched a video of someone else talk about this. Now, coffee can actually play havoc with your voice cords. And if you're going to a networking breakfast and you're speaking, well, I'm going to have a coffee because that's what I do in the morning. However, I learned that you drink a liter of water 2 hours before you're going to speak, because that's how long it takes to hydrate your entire body. So I didn't know that. So when it came to the Wednesday night, I didn't need to go and get water. I had literally drank probably 1.5 liters 2 hours before I went to get up to talk. And you know, it made such a difference, because then what happens is we start to get really nervous. And this can then be able to be a contributor to how dry our mouths get. So whereas if we're drinking enough water a good couple of hours before, it's going to help rehydrate us, but it's also going to help calm any nerves as well. So it will help with that dry mouth. So definitely that is, don't drink coffee and teas and things like that. Make sure that you hydrate and you have that after when you're networking with everybody. So number 3 is probably one of my massive big ones, and I know this because I did it myself, is don't change your talk up the day before or on the day that you're going to talk. Okay? If you've already set what you're going to do, then go with it. Because what happens when we go to change it is we're not going to be as confident, and we're going to be in and out 2 bits of preparation that we've done. So go with what you're first already written and go with that. So don't change it up at the last minute, because that's what I did. And I am going to add in a 4th one in here because I have written it down, is, and this is not what I have done, but I want to give this advice as well to other people, because I do see this a lot in speakers, is when we use PowerPoint slides, is people tend to look at that more than they look at the audience. So what I always say is your PowerPoint is your supporting act. You are the main star of the show. You're the reason that people have come to see you and hear what you have to say. They don't want to hear the back of your head or see the back of your head. So don't rely on your PowerPoint slides to be somewhere that you have a focal point to look, okay? It's only as a visual aid for your audience. So we want to stay away from using heaps and heaps of text and make it just more about the visuals for the visual people that like to see pictures as well. So that is my top 3 do's and don'ts. I wanted to keep them really simple for everybody as well. And if you do have any questions on anything else related around speaking gigs, and I wanted to share a little bit more about that, because I often get asked, how do I get speaking gigs? Where do I look from them? So I, a couple of months ago, set the intention to have at least 2 speaking gigs a month. And so what I started to do was I started to research some groups, some networking groups, and a lot of them now have the ability to go on to their group on their Facebook page, and in the announcements or the group details, they have a link to apply to become a speaker at one of their events. So that's what I started to do. So then when more people saw me out speaking, I then started to get people coming to me and asking me to come and speak to their networking events. So my minimum of 2, at least 2 a month, turned into 3 in 3 days. So now I'm set for the month of September. I'm going to sit back with a pina colada, and I don't have to go and speak anywhere for the next 3 weeks. So that's what my intention was. So it was amazing to reach more than my goal in basically the first week of September. So the amazing thing when we set our intentions and our goals of things that we want, it's amazing how much it actually happens. So then last week, on my 2nd day of my speaking gig, I got a phone call from another networking event asking me to come and speak at their October event. So each week on a Monday, I do set maybe half an hour aside to research the area, search local groups that I can apply to. So that's what I do, because I want to keep a month ahead, that I'm always a month ahead with speaking gigs. So the amazing thing that happened today was I was actually on my flip chart behind me, and I was writing out my goals for the month and going, okay, so I've got 1 speaking gig for October, and okay, so let me think, I need to get another one before the end of September. And literally as I picked up my phone to go, right, put that in my calendar for tomorrow, literally got an email from an organization that I had applied for a couple of weeks ago, and I have been successful, and I am going to speak at their event at the end of October. And I thought, well, there's my 2. My job is done. So that's the amazing thing when we do set that intention. I'm now going, right, what's going to happen in November? I'm already a month ahead of myself. So if you do have any more questions around that, and if you're in a business or even in a work capacity where you need to get out into the community, public speaking is the way to get out there and reach more people and show who you are, and to build up that know, like, and trust as well. So it's really, really important to do that, but also set yourself a goal of how many you want to do in a month as well, and then you'll just start to see that magic happen. So that's my live for today. So next week for everybody, we're starting the challenge, the week-long challenge next week, and I'm going to be able to help you get more confidence and clarity around talking about yourself and your business. So each day at 4 o'clock Australia time, 7 a.m. UK time, I'm going to come on live and give you some things to do. I will also write it up on a PDF and put it in files. So for anybody who prefers to read it or watch the video, there you're going to have 2 different options to do that. Now, if you can't tune in live, that's okay. But you can watch it on replay when you can. So it will stay in the group for you to come back to. Even if you want to bring them all in together and do it at the end of the week on that weekend, feel free to do that. However, if you join live, there is going to be some bonuses. If you do join live, you will be able to look at getting some bonuses and different things like that. So definitely tune in live if you can, because there will be some bonus extras by the end of the week. All right. Everybody have an amazing evening or have an amazing day wherever you are in the world. Again, if you have any more questions on any of what I've spoke about today, feel free to leave a comment underneath or send me a private message, and I'm more than happy to incorporate that into next week or to do another live Q&A at some point next week and answer your questions. Hope this has been super helpful, and we will chat again very soon. I'll see you all later.